The watch began ticking louder the moment I tried to sleep. That sounds impossible, I know. A watch is a quiet thing, polite even. It keeps time without demanding attention. But this one pulsed on my wrist like a second heart, each tick sharp enough to slice through the dark. Tick, 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 as if it was counting down to something I didn't yet understand. I slid it off and placed it on the bedside table. The ticking didn't stop. That's when I realized the sound wasn't loud at all. It was urgent. My name is Sophia, and I am 62 years old. I've lived long enough to know when an object carries a story heavier than its weight. This watch, my son Daniel's birthday gift to me, was one of those objects. I just didn't know how dangerous its story was yet. Daniel gave me the watch 3 weeks earlier on my birthday. He arrived late, like always, breathless and apologetic, holding a small velvet box as if it might leap out of his hands and run away. "Mom," he said, hugging me a second too tightly, "I know it's not much, but I wanted you to have something special." The watch was beautiful, antique-looking, gold-rimmed with a leather strap soft as memory. The face was ivory, the numbers delicately etched, the hands thin and elegant. "It belonged to a collector," Daniel said quickly. "Rare piece." I smiled because that's what mothers do when their children give them something with hope stitched into it, but something in his eyes flickered, not pride, not joy, fear. I noticed it, of course I did. But I said nothing. Because love, especially a mother's love, often chooses silence over suspicion. The watch felt heavier each day, not physically, emotionally. I would glance at it and feel a strange pressure behind my eyes, a tightness in my chest. It never lost time, never gained it, perfectly precise. Too precise. Then came the dreams. In them I was standing in a long corridor filled with ticking clocks, all different shapes, all different sizes, but every single one showed the same time. 11:47, always 11:47. At the end of the corridor, Daniel stood with his back to me, shoulders hunched, whispering something I couldn't hear. When I reached for him, the clocks shattered. I woke up every night at exactly 11:47. After the fourth night, I decided to take the watch to be inspected, not because it was broken, but because something about it felt wrong, and at 62 I've learned to trust that instinct. The repair shop was old, tucked between a bakery and a shuttered bookstore. The sign read Harlan and Sons, watchmakers since 1921. Inside, time smelled like oil and dust. The repairman was an elderly man with hands steady as stone. He peered at the watch through a magnifying lens, his brows knitting tighter with each passing second. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "My son gave it to me," I replied. He stopped working. Slowly, deliberately, he removed the lens and looked me straight in the eyes. "Ma'am," he said, voice suddenly sharp, "take it off, right now." My stomach dropped. "Is something wrong?" I asked, already unclasping it. He didn't answer. Instead, he locked the shop door, flipped the sign to closed, and drew the blinds. "Did your son tell you anything unusual about this watch?" he asked. "No." "Did he seem nervous?" "Yes, I thought, but I said why." The repairman exhaled and placed the watch on a padded cloth like it might explode. "This isn't just a watch," he said. "It's a container." The word echoed in my ears. "A container for what?" He hesitated, then reached beneath the counter and pulled out a small toolkit, one I hadn't seen before. "I've only seen 3 of these in my lifetime," he said quietly, "and every single one was tied to something bad." He pried open the back of the watch. Inside, tucked beneath the mechanism, was a sliver of black plastic no bigger than a fingernail. "A memory chip." "What is that?" I whispered. The repairman swallowed. "A data capsule, custom-fitted, very expensive, very illegal." My legs weakened. I gripped the counter. "What kind of data?" "Records," he said. "Transactions, names, coordinates, the kind people hide when they're scared for their lives." The ticking stopped. I left the shop without the watch. The repairman insisted on keeping it locked in his safe while he contacted someone he trusted, someone who handled things like this. He begged me not to confront my son yet. "Whatever this is," he said, "he gave it to you because he was running out of options." That night, Daniel didn't answer my calls. The next morning, his apartment was empty. No clothes, no laptop, no photos, just a mug in the sink and a chair knocked over like someone had left in a hurry or been taken. Fear is a peculiar thing. It doesn't scream, it settles. It spreads quietly like ink in water. By evening, the police were at my door. They asked about Daniel's work, his friends, his finances. And then one of them asked about the watch. I said nothing. 2 days later, the repairman called. They confirmed it, he said. The chip contains evidence against a financial syndicate, money laundering, offshore accounts, political names you recognize. My heart pounded. How did my son get mixed up in this? He worked in cybersecurity, didn't he? Yes. They recruited him, then he found out too much. The truth hit me like cold rain. Daniel hadn't given me a gift. He'd given me a lifeline. They won't stop looking for it, the repairman continued, and they won't hesitate. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room, lights off, listening for sounds that didn't belong. At 11:47 my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Check the lining of the watch strap. My hands shook. The next morning, under police supervision, the strap was examined. Sewn into the leather was a tiny handwritten note, folded until it was nearly dust. Mom, I'm sorry, I had no one else. Trust the watch, trust yourself. 3 weeks later, the story broke. Headlines, arrests, resignations, a syndicate unraveled. Daniel was found alive in a neighboring country, exhausted but safe. When he finally came home, he cried like a child in my arms. I didn't want you involved, he said, but I knew you protect it. You always protect what matters. I held his face and said the only thing that mattered. You should have trusted me sooner. I don't wear the watch anymore. It sits in a drawer, silent now, emptied of its secret. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear it ticking, soft, steady like a reminder. Time doesn't just measure moments. It reveals truth.